Hi, I'm Dave Willet from MotoHead magazine, and in this video I'll be giving you an update on the KTM 150 EXC TPI 2020 model that we've had for a few months now. Obviously I'd been out on the bike and rode it in Spain. And then come home and managed to ride it quite a few times before we got into COVID lockdown. Now obviously with restrictions easing off, I've managed to get out. You know, the reason why I chose the KTM 150 was because I felt that it was a bike at the time that I needed, that I basically could ride for a long period of time, that I wouldn't get tired on. To be fair, that's confirmed. It's still the case. I can get a full day out on this bike, whether that be trail riding on a motocross track, or or just playing about in the woods, or even at my parents'. I've managed to ride the bike around there and have some fun. One of the things that I would recommend on the bike is that you do start the bike and that you do let everything calibrate itself. It's got the sensors on the bike for a reason, and the reason being is that it needs to calibrate and work out the fueling. When you first get onto the bike and you pull away and you ride, it is like any other two-stroke. It does feel a little bit woolly, a little bit laggy, but just give it give it time to warm up, and as soon as it warms up, then it does clear, and you are getting a different performance from the engine, that's for certain. The power delivery is perfect. It's perfect for me because I've been able to learn some new skills, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to test myself and also test the bike, and the bike is certainly adequate enough to test my skills, certainly at this level. I've been managing to get over rocks and up riverbeds, and just through bogs. Real tricky rock sections. I've tested the bike fully, and when I say fully, that I mean through the full RPM range, and also as well through the gearbox. Going down the byways, I've been putting that 6th gear into play, and also as well through some of the tight wooded sections and over the rock sections, I've been using 1st gear. So some of the good points on this bike for me, and there's a lot more good points than there are negatives, to be honest. The good point for me is that first of all, you can go out riding for a full day riding and not worry about premix. Fill up the oil and fill up the tank of fuel, then you're good to go, and the bike is super efficient, so the fueling is absolutely perfect. Regarding on exhaust fumes, it's 50% down, so you are environment friendly, or as friendly as you can be. The noise is perfect as well for me because it's super quiet. So with it being super quiet, it's allowed me to ride at places that I've never rode before. And when I say down other places that I've never rode before, I mean like at my parents' is in the backfield. Just easing out of lockdown again, we've all had to ride at these private tracks, and we certainly don't want to lose these little gems of places. And with the bike being super quiet, it's been perfect. It's allowed me to get some ride time in and not be antisociable. With fueling, that if you fill up the tank, and you can see the oil tank's just situated just in here, and you fill up from the frame, that you do get, I think it's 1 litre of oil to 80 litres of fuel. Now I've ridden this bike for just under 9 hours now, and I haven't had to fill up with oil. So yeah, that is absolutely awesome if you ask me. What are the benefits of that? You're going out on the trail, you can share 4-stroke fuel. You haven't got to worry about taking your little top up of premix, in your rucksack or in your bag with you when you go to the petrol station and refill up and dropping that in so you can get home. You can just drive straight into the petrol station and fill this bad boy up. Another good point is the power delivery. In standard form, you're not going to want a lot more. Like I said, if you can just let it calibrate, then it's really good. I found that let's say Beginners, average riders and pros have all enjoyed riding this bike. And it's not just a bike just for beginners, you know, it is a bike for all. You really do get the most from the bike when you can let it, you know, and ride it in low to mid range. It does sign off a little bit early, that is one of the negatives, but I'm sure that that's only going to improve over time. On a motocross track, you do find yourself that, you know, you are just clicking it into probably into third and then you're rolling out. Very rarely do you touch second, so you probably would change your gearing. For me probably I would change my gearing, so this is going to surprise you, that I would go up on the teeth on the rear sprocket, and the reason for that is that I'd like, you know, that more roll speed when you come round, and just to be in that right rev range, and also in the meat of the power. So, you know, you could go smaller on the rear sprocket and then you could let second hang out a little bit, but for me it's just a little bit too short. The gearing's just a little bit too short. So if I go bigger on the rear sprocket, that will advantage me in third gear and roll through, and then obviously this is a 6-speed gearbox, so you really will feel the benefits from that, and it will just give you that little bit more of a snap and a little bit more pull out of the turns, because like I say, it is powerful from low to mid range, but it's a torque. It's not like a peaky power like of a 2-stroke, you know. It's a power that delivers it's a power that delivers perfectly to the ground for the rear wheel, and it just torques and drives. Now that's designed obviously for the enduro tracks. The power for me is something that is key, because it's so smooth and it delivers so perfectly. It allows you just to blip off certain things and to just really drive over certain rocks, or, you know, over some certain obstacles. Positive thing for me is how light and nimble this bike is. Because it's so light and nimble, and the power delivery, and they both work really well together, the combination is perfect. What it allows you to do is it allows you just to play about on the bike, you know, whether you're doing endos, whether you're doing wheelies, you know, whether you're just ripping through the woods, or you're just ripping around a motocross track. The bike is different to a normal 2-stroke, because you aren't really singing it on the pipe like you normally would with a 2-stroke. You know, when you come out of a turn and you do light it up and get that spin on, basically you can't ride the bike like that. You've got to let the motor do the work and let it pull. It's almost a little bit like 4-strokey, but it's not. It's kind of a balance in between. Yeah. Once you get your head around that, then man, that you really do start to have some fun times on this bike. I do like the balance of the bike. The KTM 150 hasn't got a linkage, which I've found to my liking over certain rock sections, to be quite honest. On the motocross track, yes, you do have to kind of adjust it a little bit, because you do get that little bit of a kick, and you're going to the front forks just to stiffen them up a little bit. But yeah, you can adjust all those by hand when you're at the track, and then readjust them when you're going and play them on the enduro track or in the woods. You may have noticed as well on the 150, which I didn't touch on last time, is that the exhaust actually looks like a 250 exhaust, which does throw quite a few people, because they do think that you're riding a 250. Which obviously isn't the case. Now the pipe is designed to complement the engine, complement the fuel injection, so you really do get that low and mid-range drive that you do need from one of these bikes when you're riding. You know, it's a 6-speed gearbox. I have had this baby flat out in 6th gear with standard gearing, and I can confirm that I did 66 miles an hour. Another great feature and another benefit on the little CC is the electric start. So you do have a kickstart as well, so that's also available, which I do believe you have to pay for them sometimes as an extra. I have done some upgrades to the KTM 150. I've got the Boyston Super Cooler, which basically has a bigger propeller and it offers a better water flow, which keeps your engine cooler. The benefits of that are obviously huge, because the cooler that your engine keeps, the more horsepower that you've got, and also when you're on them big long rides out and you are in first gear in the woods, just popping around a load of stuff, and and you do fall off and get the clutch, you know, get the throttle stuck in the ground and the bike's revving so hard that it is good to keep your engine cool. Also as well, we've got the Boyson clutch cover, which is, you know, just adds to that factory look. Speaking of cosmetic looks, we've also got Polysport plastics, and we've got a full set of 09 custom graphics made. So thank you very much to Jim. We're actually loving the look. Got a Guts Racing seat, which is just a full seat, and we have obviously some pull straps, which are these come from a Pico. I wasn't really a big fan of these at first, but actually, you know, and that's just because of the cosmetic look. But when you're riding around and you ride through a few of the riverbeds and you do get stuck and you get into a bit of marshy land, you know, you do get sick of pulling up at the back end, and it does come in handy. Also as well, I have had my legs caught a few times when the bike's fallen on me, and I have managed just to use them and just pull the bike off me to free my little legs. Yeah, so we've got the triple clamps with the PHDS, which stands for Progressive Handlebar Dampening System. I quite like the setup in this system, just because it just takes a little bit of the vibration. Not that this bike does vibrate a lot, because it doesn't. In standard form with the standard clamps, that's one of the things that I should tip my hat to at KTM. You know, the vibration days are long gone. But what that system does do is that it just takes a little bit of the shock and just a little bit of the hit when you do get, you know, when you do hit some rocks a little bit too hard, or whether you do take some beatings from over jumping the landing. I've got the ODI bars as well. I'm actually quite a big fan of those, and obviously the ODI grips, maybe I do need to replace those, but you know what they're like, forever lasting. I did an upgrade on the brakes. Basically front and rear I'm running MotoMaster, so on the front I'm running an oversized disc, which basically, you know, it gives me 25% extra stopping power. What I do personally like about it is that the front brake lever pull, you know, it's still a progressional feel. It's still got a bit of cushion. So sometimes when you do have them oversized discs, that when you hit the brakes, it is a little bit grabby, and you come into the turn and it does tuck away from you. I'm a fan of these brake systems just because you've got that progression feel, so you can just ease in at your own will. So having a thicker rear disc, it does help, because obviously it's less inclined to overheat over the standard thinner one. And also as well, again, the feel of the rear brake, you know, when you're riding around, it does feel like an upgrade. On the rear, because I've been learning some new skills and doing some new things and coming down some of the hills and rocks, you know, I have been dragging the rear brake. What would I do to this bike further? Personally myself, I'd like to change the piston. I'd change the piston from a double ring to a single ring, just so you get that little bit more zip and a little bit more pop. And hopefully as well, you know, the bike would probably have a little bit more a freer revving feel, and probably would pick up through the range a little bit quicker. I have adjusted the power valve, the auxiliary spring inside. I did back that off, so I did feel that I wound it in a little bit and put more tension on. I didn't really like it that way, just felt that it still was a little bit laggy. So I basically backed it off, so the power valve system would operate at a different RPM and come in a little bit harder. I found that was a big benefit. After that, I think what I'd like to do is I would have this baby remapped, and just to see what the benefits are of it, you know, just to see, you know, what it's capable of. We all know that if you're rejetting a two-stroke, the benefits that you can get. Obviously this is fuel injection TPI, and it does calibrate itself. And on that note, you know, it's not that I feel that it needs adjusting, it's just that I'd like to see if it was a power performance adjustment, because as I've touched on before, I've rode this in Spain, I've rode this in England in the mud, I've rode it in bog, we're riding it now in the summer, at dusty tracks, loamy tracks, you know, and in the woods, and the bike always does seem to come out trumps. You know, it does feel hassle-free. It doesn't feel like I need to be in there, you know, adjusting main jets, pilot jets, or needle positions. I'm going to leave you with, this is one of the funnest, nimblest bikes that I've had. I've enjoyed it so much that I've been able to test myself, learn some new skills. I would actually go out and buy this bike myself, because it is so diverse and the power is so fun. So yeah, so for its first, this is the first attempt for the fuel injection on a 150 and it's new this year. I can't wait to see what happens in the future with this bike, because I'm sure that things are only going to improve.